Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another installment of Dear Deeja. Before we get started, you guys know the drill. Go make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video. That means you're liking it and you're letting me know you're in the building. Also, let's stick around for the whole entirety of the video so you can make sure you share your feedback and leave some comments in the chat. Let me know what you thought of my feedback. And if you're not a subscriber, make sure you subscribe to the channel. You guys have to pardon me if I'm a little off today. I was headed out. I didn't have plans to do Dear Deeja today. I was headed out to go spend time with my mom because today is the 18th anniversary of my dad's death, right? And I don't know. I usually am in good spirits, but I woke up a little melancholy. So, the plan to go spend some time with my mom didn't pan out because she had her own plans. So I said, let me do something that kind of lifts my spirits, which is let me get it cracking with a Dear Deeja, right? So like I said, make sure you guys like the video. Make sure you watch it in its entirety so you can share your feedback. And if you're not a subscriber, make sure you subscribe to the channel. So let's get started on this letter. And like I said, if my energy is a little off, just pardon me because I don't know. I'm not in the best spirits. But Dear Deejas always bring me joy, so I think I can kind of turn that around once we get started on the letter. Okay, so let's get started. Dear Deeja, I am from Brooklyn, but I had a little stint in Maryland. It was cool, but Brooklyn is where my heart is, so I decided to relocate back home. In my Brooklyn apartment search, I learned that NYC is the most expensive place to live in the world. On one of my visits to BK, when I was venting to my family about how hard it is to find somewhere to stay, my aunt suggested that I look into getting a roommate, and she also shared how her husband's niece was looking for an apartment as well and that I should check in with her. I didn't think that was a bad idea since I'm very familiar with cousin Whoopty Whoop, and I guess Whoopty Whoop is there because she doesn't want to insert the cousin's name. Anyway, I'm very familiar with cousin Whoopty Whoop, and we've always had a good relationship. Not to mention, from what I know about cousin Whoopty Whoop, she gets to that bag. Long story short, cousin was interested because she's trying to save money to buy a house. We found a really nice apartment rather quickly in the heart of BK in a nice little neighborhood. The first 3 months was cool, but shortly after things started to shift. The fourth month, she was 10 days late with her rent money. By month 5, she needed to double up. And in month 6 and every month after that, cousin Whoopty Whoop asked if I could put a portion of the rent up. And when it was time to pay me back, she started offering me designer pocketbooks, shades, shoes, or bringing home expensive household appliances. That's all good, but I need my cash money. I don't want to hate cousin Whoopty Whoop, and I would hate to be weird with her because I see on IG she's at lavish restaurants with hood celebrities and expensive vacations, and she's fly as hell. I flat out ask her for my money, and I get the sob story of her being broke and a promise to come through soon. Now, Deeja, I don't want to have to evict my cousin, and I don't want to have to start selling her shit and get into a fight since we're supposed to be family. I'm getting annoyed, and this chick is playing in my face. I need help. Sign, a cousin ready to get it cracking. All right. Okay. Hope you guys have your drinks for the Dear Deeja. Let's get this thing rolling. First of all, let's start off like this, right? Anytime I read a Dear Deeja letter and I see folks, folks only have really two extremes, right? The one extreme is I want to be nice, I want to be sweet, I don't want no trouble. But then the other extreme is I'm going to beat your motherfucking ass, right? And it's like, oh my God, where's the in between before we get to I'm nice and I'm sweet? Then I'm about to dive on you, right? Where is the middle ground to where you can still be nice and sweet, but I could also still be stern and assertive and not have to physically jump on you, right? And I think that's how most people operate when they feel as though their face is getting played in. And I'm very familiar with that because I feel like it happens to me on a daily basis. When you're in a space of trying to be mature and the bigger person and do the right thing, for whatever reason, in my opinion, God and the universe hears you and they say, oh, so since you made a promise to, be mature and do the right thing, let's see if you're serious about that promise, right? And every single thing and every single person you encountered throughout the duration of that time is sent to challenge how serious you are about your promise and your commitment to be the bigger person, right? Sometimes it can really take a toll on you. It can really take a toll on you, because to feel like somebody is being disrespectful and you're being disrespected and you're not doing anything but trying to be your best self, it's a hurtful feeling. And most times for most people, hurt can turn into anger. And once you get angry, that's when the extreme of "I'ma beat your motherfucking ass" comes into play, right? Another thing is, I think we live in a world where it's just human nature for folks to take advantage of each other, right? So I think that not everybody wakes up every day and be like, "Oh, let me show so and so." But I think that if folks see a situation where they can kind of maneuver and get things done the way they want things done, as long as it is not at an extreme expense, they will give it a try. And then you have the folks that don't care if it's at an extreme expense; they're still going to give it a try to get what they want. So the term I always use at work is, I said, you give a finger, they'll take a hand. You give a hand, they'll take an arm. You give an arm, they'll take a body. You give a body, they'll take a heart. You take a heart, they want a soul, right? So as long as they can continue to maneuver the situation where I can get what I need, as long as you're gonna, adhere to the things that I want, then I'm gonna keep telling you what I want, right? In this situation, it sounds like the adhering started from, I think you said month 3, right? So it sounds like, excuse me, I think my allergies are acting up. It sounds like the adhering may have started as early as month 3, where I think she initially asked you at that time, could she be a little late, or could you cover for her, or she was later, however, whatever the case may be, where it was like, okay, well, let me inconvenience you at the convenience of myself, right? And I'm sorry to say, cousin, but once you initially got it started from that time, you were actually, that was your first introduction into giving her the finger, right? And I think once she saw that you gave her the finger, she asked for the hand. And then once she saw that you were willing to give the hand, she asked for the arm, right? And it continued and continued and continued until here we are. You're writing a Dear Deidre letter. Let me say this, and I say this in every Dear Deidre letter. The reason why Dear Deidre's got started is because this is a substitute for an actual Operation Heal 100 Heart session, right? So what will happen in a one-on-one Operation Heal 100 Heart session is, you and I will be sitting down, you will be giving me whatever your issues are and asking for my feedback. In Operation Heal 100 Heart sessions, I don't have time to discuss other people in length, right? So case in point, it's okay for you to share a situation with me in a one-on-one session, but we're not going to spend a lot of time discussing that other person, because we have to allot the bulk of the time to discussing what you can do to make this situation work out to your best ability, right? And most times, in my opinion, all times, situations that occur in our lives are our fault, right? And it may not be our fault intentionally, but to some degree, what's happening to us, we brought upon us, right? And what we can do is try to find the behaviors that welcomed what's taking place and try to switch them, therefore switching those behaviors, right? So I'll give you an example of what I mean. You know how people say, I've seen situations where it's like, oh, a person put their information on IG. They put all their jewelry or their cars or their this or their that, and they also put the location of where they're hanging out at on IG, right? And some thirsty ass niggas came and where that person was and maybe robbed them, right? And a lot of times, when you having that conversation, you'll hear the people around supporting the person that it happened to, like, oh, those people were haters and this, that. I don't negate that. I actually agree with that. But my feedback I would be giving that person also is, just be mindful of the things that you share and showing people and folks where you are, right? And again, I'm not saying that it's the person's fault. I'm just trying to show them how, in a subliminal way, you may have welcomed that behavior, right? And I know people get defensive automatically when you're like, no, all this shit happened to me. Why are you putting what somebody else did on me? I'm not putting it on you. I'm just showing you how, to some degree, you may have welcomed what happened with you, and we don't want that to happen again, right? And like I said, going back to your letter, what it looked like happened here was, you welcomed the behavior of her I'm going to call it, for lack of a better term, taking advantage of you when you said the first month, the second month, the third month, whatever month it started, oh, okay, I got you. Because now the one time that she felt like, oh, you do? You got me? Let me see how many other times you could have me, right? Am I saying the cousin is right? No, it's not right. She should do her part since that's what she signed up for. And if she couldn't do it, she should have said that, and yada, 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 and yada, 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 in a perfect world, right? But we're not in a perfect world, and these things happen. The reason why you're writing me is because we want to find out a way to rectify the situation where maybe it might not even require you putting her out, but it also definitely won't require you beating her ass. Because I guarantee you, if you wanted to do either one, you would not be writing me this letter. It would just be up and stuck. Okay? So, I'm going to start here. Do you consider yourself a people pleaser? The reason why I asked that question is because this has been the conversation I've been having with a lot of folks and myself the entire 2023, right? I think that what you did for your cousin Whoopty Whoop was admirable, right? I think it was you being a nice person, right? At least that's what I think you think. That's a beautiful thing, to be a nice person and be understanding and considerate of family members when they have unfortunate situations. What I don't think is safe for any of us to do is to be a nice person when it inconveniences us, because when it inconveniences you to be a nice person, that kind of signifies to me that you might be a people pleaser. Right? So I'll give you another example. Let's just say you're friends with someone and you're dating someone, and they say, well, I want to go to a party over here, right? The place that they want to go to the party to, you may not like that place. You may not like that place. You may feel like it's dangerous. You may feel like you didn't have the best time when you went the last time. You know, you may have some feelings and some reservations about going to that place that you really feel strong about. But because you want the other person to be happy, you're going to inconvenience yourself and still go somewhere where you know you didn't really want to. That is called people pleasing, ladies and gentlemen. So if anybody needs an example of what people pleasing looks like doing something for someone else at the inconvenience and the cost of oneself. Okay? Let's try that again. People pleasing looks like doing something for and with someone else at the cost and inconvenience of oneself, right? And again, I get it. We make compromises. We do. So I could see you actually compromising, this situation, because if she doesn't pay, you guys could lose the apartment. So I get why I would be like, oh, no, I did her part, because I didn't want us to have any issues about where we live. Because like you said at the beginning of this letter, I've been looking for a place to stay. So it didn't benefit me to not do that for her, right? But it also didn't benefit you because you're at a loss, because here we are months later with you being owed money that you're not receiving, and it's upsetting you. So either way, you're at a loss. From what? People pleasing. Okay? So let's walk through, if that is the case, where that comes from. That would be first. In the Healing Heart session, we would talk about where that came from, what causes that in you. And then the second part of the discussion would be, is that something that you want to stop, or is that something that you want to continue? Right? Because I think that people also can have faults within themselves that they may not see anything wrong with, and they may need or want them to continue. The only reason we would be having this discussion is if you're not happy with them and you want them to stop. Let me also say this to you. If you're not happy with them, my suggestion is that your faults that you're not happy with, they have to stop and you have to change. Because if not, continuing to be that person is going to make you miserable, because what? It doesn't make you happy. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm making sense here. I want to make sure I'm bringing it all together, because I know sometimes for some people, when I do these Dear Deidre letters, people will ask questions after the fact, like they didn't understand or get how I correlated a lot of the examples that I threw out there, right? And I always try to give examples because I want you to be clear on what I'm saying, right? So let's start with, are you a people pleaser? Where that came from? That would be in the Healing Heart session. We're not in the Healing Heart session. I'm now responding and giving feedback to a Dear Deidre letter, so I only can speak about what I have been supplied with, which is what looks like to me some people pleasing. And what it looks like is the people pleasing is not making you happy. So let's get started with the dialogue about how you can share your disdain for what's taking place before it has to get to a physical place. Number one, you need to be clear in your communication, right? And the reason why I say this is because I don't know if you guys see, but it's a meme going around where it says, I used to think that the problem with communication, there was a problem with communication, but there's not a problem with communication, there's a problem with comprehension. I totally 103,000% agree with that. I agree with that. The problem is not the communication, the problem is the comprehension. I'll go a little deeper. I don't necessarily think it's only about comprehension. I think that folks may hear and understand what you're saying. I think that folks are really, really, really attached, me included, to their experiences. So even though I'm comprehending what you're saying, I'm filtering what you're saying through my bullshit, and it's coming across to me totally different. I heard you. I understood you. I don't give a fuck about what you said, because for me, that doesn't correlate the same. Oh, okay. So one must be clear on communication. Once you're clear on communication, there shouldn't be an issue with comprehension. The person can understand and comprehend what you're saying. They then can make the choice to say if what you're saying is valuable to them, invaluable to them, offensive to them, disrespectful to them, sweet to them, nice to them. They have to now filter what they are receiving, and then they have to make a choice. Right? So let me see if there's an example I can give you, right? Someone can share with me that they don't like my style of healing hearts, right? They may say to me, listen, which, praise God, 9 years in the business, haven't got that yet. But let's just say someone says, hey, I really don't like the way you carried our healing heart session, right? I heard that. My next question would be, can you share why? And then they would share their explanation about why they may feel they didn't like what I did. And I said, okay, I hear that. I respect that. Now, I'm left with the choice to say, you know what? I want our relationship to continue. So I have to now shift and change the way I work with you because I don't want to lose you. Or I can say, this is my way of the way I run my business. And if we are not aligned, then I understand you trying to search and seek and do business elsewhere. Right? And that doesn't mean we have to have tension. That doesn't mean we have to have a problem. That doesn't mean I didn't understand what they said. I got it. Cool. No problem. But because I'm making a choice not to shift in the way I do business, I'm also okay with the fact that that person may not want to do business with me. Right? So let me know if what I'm saying, if you ever write me again or come for an Operation Heal 100 Heart session, let me know if what I'm saying to you makes sense, right? Because this is what's happening, right? So now you have to come out with the clear communication. So clear that they have no choice but to be able to comprehend it. You have to also understand that even when they do comprehend it, they still may not agree with it. Okay. Right? So let me give you another example. Your cousin may say, well, I do understand that I was late with my rent. I do understand that upsets you. I do understand that inconveniences you. But I also feel like if I'm coming in here with $3,000 blenders and $9 million air fryers and $200 blow dryers, that should make up for me not giving you my $800, $900, $2,000, $5,000, whatever many dollars that I have to pay in rent. Right? That right there, what I just said, is not a comprehension issue. That's not a comprehension issue. She heard you, you communicated what you felt properly, and she received it. She just didn't agree with it. So because we are not on the same page with what this looks like, now we both have to make a choice if we want to continue living together or we want to live separately. Okay, so like I said, my dear, you have to make sure the communication is clear, because if it's clear, she will not have a comprehension issue. You guys just may have the issue of you don't agree about what's best for y'all. Okay, so let's reevaluate if being roommates is going to work for us. All right, also anticipate change. So it may have been agreements that you guys came up with initially that she may have forfeited on or want to change in a moment of this conversation, right? It's gonna annoy you, right? Because you're gonna say, well, wait a minute, Whoopty Whoop. I told you when we first signed the lease, that you needed to have your rent by this day. I would be the person that take it to the office or give it to the landlord or whatever. I would get the money orders. I would need it by both. All of those things may have been clear from the beginning. Anticipate, because it's human behavior, especially when people are in the wrong. Anticipate her saying in those moments, well, I just thought that even though we promised to give each other the rent by the 9th, that if I gave it to you on the 15th for the extra blender, that you would be cool. Anticipate the conversation to shift to what y'all initially agreed to, right? Because if you anticipate behaviors, what I learned in my experience is when you anticipate behaviors, you don't get as upset about them as you normally would. You usually get more angry with a person when you're blindsided by what they're doing. Right? But if you anticipate some of her answers, you're like, I kind of thought you was going to say that. And it also prepares you to say what you need to say, because now you're left to make a choice. Right? So if she says that, the example I just gave you of, I thought if I gave it to you at a 15 with a $200 blender, blah, 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 you can say, I'm not in agreement with that. I want to go with our original agreement. And since you can't get up with our original agreement, I have to make the choice to either A, evict you, B, move out, whatever the case may be. Right? So those are the first two things: having clear communication and anticipating some shifting and changing from your original conversation. Right? C, be very clear on what you need moving forward, because that's another thing. A lot of times when people have situations where there's a little bit of friction, right? When you love a person and you care about a person, when y'all have that friction and y'all could come to an inkling of middle ground, you kind of scale back on what you need just to save face for the middle ground. Let me give you an example, right? If in the moment she says, you know what, I'm dead wrong, I'm sorry, you right, you know what? I was late for the first 3 months. So let me pay for that next month and I'll give you the rest later. If your plan was to get all of your money right now in this month, don't stray away from that. Don't stray away from that. Because if you do, you're going to have another problem in the future because you were not clear on your standards and your demands right there. And it gives room for things to get rocky again. Okay, so let me see if I could give it to you in another example that would kind of break it down a little more. Okay, you know how you dating a person and they cheat on you, right? And you and that person are going through it about the cheating, right? Of course, cheating comes with lying and all these other things, right? So let's just say throughout the argument, the person finally says, you know what, my bad, I'm sorry, I'm not going to cheat no more. And because they're saying that and you just want to get back in a relationship and be back in love again, it's like, okay, I accept that. No, stop. Because one of the things that you're also not going to accept moving forward is you're not going to accept any more lying. That's not what he's agreeing to in the moment. You're only taking what he's agreeing to in the moment because you don't want no smoke. No, put everything out there that you want right now. Because in the future, what might happen is, yeah, I didn't cheat on you, but I'm still lying to you. And that's something that you did not want. But you didn't say that. And one thing about people is human nature. Folks are going to play the game of semantics. So it would be, well, last time we got in an argument, your issue was that I cheated. I didn't cheat this time. Oh, but you lied. Okay, but you didn't say anything about lying the last time. You see what I mean? So whatever you want out of this situation with your cousin about your housing situation, you have to say all of it up front. Don't just scale back when you get 10% of what you want. It's just like the 80-20 rule. She trying to shut you up, giving you that 80%, but you also need the other 20. You understand what I'm saying? And if you only take the 80, you'll always be trying to chase her around to get the remaining 20. No, I have to tell you what I need up front, because if we encounter any other problems, here I am again eating crow because you're telling me I didn't tell you what I needed. That's the truth. You didn't. You didn't. Right? So I think, my dear, that cousin Whoopty Whoop needs to be addressed. And I think that you have to be mature enough to address her. But in order for you to mature, you have to step out of the people-pleasing role, my dear. You have to step out of the people-pleasing role. That's your first line of business, is to step outside of the people-pleasing role. Because it's nice to compromise and want to do things for people that you love. But when it's at the expense of yourself, then at this point, my dear, you are compromised. You are people-pleasing. And if it was to your benefit, you would never be writing a Dear Deidre letter. Okay, so again, let's run down the first 3 things you could do to address cousin Whoopty Whoop, because we got ish to do, girl. So the first one is, do you remember the first one? I don't think you do. Okay, the first thing you have to do is have clear communication. Clear communication, right? Clear communication. The second thing is you have to anticipate a change in conversation. Meaning, like I said, there may be some things that you agreed to back in freaking January when y'all got the apartment that she might be shifting in right now in December. Right? So expect her to say something different. So if you expect those answers, you know how to respond and you know what choices to make. And the third thing is, don't compromise and don't shortchange yourself on what needs to take place moving forward. You need to say it and make sure you say it to her, and then I think you need to stand on it. That's more important. You need to say it and then stand on it. What King said, you gotta stand on business. Okay? Okay. So those are the first 3 things that need to be done when addressing your cousin. And the beautiful thing I love about those 3 things is it doesn't involve you having to get physical with her at all. But it definitely will involve you making some choices that are you mature enough to make. And that's the real work that needs to be done, is the work on you. Because once you do the work on you, everything else, my dear, falls into place. All right. Okay. I think I was able to navigate that well. I hope that you guys weren't able to sense that my spirit was a little off with today being the 18th anniversary of my dad's death. But I will say, doing this Dear Deidre made me feel good. It made me feel good. It kind of lifted my spirits because I love the work that I do, right? Hence the shirt. I don't do it for the income. I do it for the outcome. Yes, my colleagues got me this because they know how hard I work to heal hearts, right? So, once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Dear Deidre is one of my biggest playlists on my channel because people love it. Because, again, they want to hear the feedback that I give. I'm not always right. I'm not perfect. I'm not a therapist. You know what I'm saying? But I am a very intelligent and intuitive person. And I think that the choices that I've made for my life, I am proud of. And I think that they're the best decisions for me. And I am always in favor of folks living up to their highest potential, living in their best life, and doing what's best for them. And sometimes that requires, a lot of work on self, and not so much worrying about other folks. Right? So I'm just here to say, hey, if there's some work that needs to be done, or self to be a better person, I want to help you do so. Okay, so continue to send in your Dear Deidre letters. Continue to subscribe to the channel. Continue to give me your feedback. Continue to like the videos. Continue to, patronize this page and let me know. I really, really appreciate it. My unpopular opinions is coming. My show reviews is coming. I'm just trying to do the best that I can. I have a new playlist I'm going to add to my channel after the new year called Conversations with Khadijah. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to add another playlist called The Truth About Pook. And we're going to talk some things about my Pookie. I'm going to add my body sculpting journey. Wink, wink. So we got to talk. But thank you for tuning in. Make sure before you go, you hit the thumbs up and like the video. Make sure you watched all the way up until this point so I could get your feedback. Leave it in the comments. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you. I appreciate you. Continue to tune in and enjoy the rest of your holiday season.